minutes early, but Facebook was giving me grief. I'm gonna hang out, let people join. Hey everyone. Excuse my inky fingers. This pollen is killing my throat. I was inky, so I was playing with this. The Saran wrap method. It was still a little wet when I took it off a minute ago, so I got some ink on my fingers. So while we're waiting on other folks to join, I'm just going to go ahead and show y'all some of the coasters. What did I do with them? Oh, I see them now. So I do beer caps in my coasters. I've been doing it for probably 3 years, so I'm going to show you some examples. Now these are, for the most part, things that did not pass the muster for me to sell. So they are house coasters. But beer cap resin coasters were actually the first thing that I ever did with epoxy before I started doing tumblers or anything like that. So there's lots of different ways you can do it. Of course, if you want to do sodas for the non-drinkers, you yourself are a non-drinker, any metal cap will work for this. So the first molds that I ever had came from Amazon, and they still have them. They come in sets of 3, and they're like staggered, and they're just really deep, this like burnt orange color, and they're all attached. And I used those for about 2 years, and then I started having issues with them, where they were losing shape and having issues. And the last time I used them, I actually had issues where it was dried out so much that some I guess the seal around the corner was broken, and the silicone actually came up with my coaster. So I don't use those anymore. They're not bad. I mean, I did get 2 years worth of use out of them, and you can do different heights. My only other complaint, besides the fact that they fell apart, is that if you're not wanting to do a really thick coaster, it's kind of challenging to get a whole set that's the same depth, because you really just have to eyeball it. And my OCD, when I'm doing a set, just really didn't like it. And if I don't have to use epoxy to do thick coasters like these, then I'd have to, or I didn't want to. So I started out with these, and these are not going to be the prettiest because these are the ones that did not pass the muster to sell. But just to show you some of the things you can do with them. So this one is just clear. I've got the bottle caps all around, for the most part facing in. And then I just have these clear little bumpers on the bottom of them. It's real short ones. Kind of give it a little bit of traction. So that's just clear. You have to excuse me, I have gnats all in here. I don't know where they came from. So if you see me doing this and hitting myself in the face, it's because there's gnats. And I'm going to have to hunt them down and destroy them all soon. Then I've also done ones with glitter behind them. You'll see the caps are in a different order or a different design. So when you do it this way with these, you could just use 1 6-pack. And it's a multi-step process with different layers, so you can see. Dang that again. Down here is where I did the glitter. I'm going to have to find whatever brought these nuts in here. Or like go find a gecko or something to put in here. This one, I actually put some glitter down before I did the caps and then after. Fun 3D effects. I've also used alcohol inks. Hey Misty! I've also used alcohol inks. I've used micas. I've used acrylic paints, all for different backings and effects. So there's really lots of stuff that you can do with them. So when I decided no more of this coaster mold, I found what I think is most of our new favorite ones with the lip. So this one looks really bad. So this is the first one that I did in this style at all with the lip, and I also did it with coasters, or with the caps. So from way back here it looks okay, but when I bring it up close it looks terrible. It was really humid and there's all sorts of micro bubbles and it's just ridiculous. But see, it looks really bad up close. The epoxy cleared, or cured. I did a horrible job on this one. But see, looks good, bad, good, bad. But this was my tester to see if I could in fact put caps in these, and I could, and I do, and that's what we're going to do today. And then here's another one that I did, that I used pearl glitter, and then I buy these corks. Oh Misty, it's so bad in person. Like, you can tell I just screwed it up. But it's still totally usable, and I've got lots of these coasters that I use around the house. But this one was fun. I don't remember what beer it was, but it was a promotion. Pints for Prostates. So these are what we're going to do. So I've because it is a multi-stage process, I've already got one that I started a couple hours ago, about an hour and a half ago. But all we're going to use is one of these round ones. If you're curious about how much resin to use to fill these up, I always test them by putting water in them and then pouring it into one of the things. But for this first layer, for these circles, I'm going to use about 30 milliliters. For the square ones, you're going to use about 40. So I've already mixed my epoxy since I'm using counterculture and it takes a while. So I went ahead and stirred everything. I've got my caps, and as you can see, I collect my caps in here and then dig through them when I'm ready. So I'm just going to reposition y'all so you can see better, and then we'll get rocking and rolling. Okay. Alright, I've mixed epoxy, so the gnats are going, ooh, I want some of that. So here I've got my Counterculture epoxy, again about 30 milliliters, or not about 30 milliliters, 30 milliliters, and I just pour from the middle and let it all flow out. I like to let it sit, get any and all micro bubbles that can out of it, and let it thicken a little bit too. So when it thickens, you don't run into quite as many issues with bubbles forming as it's pouring around that lip. So the reason that we want to not fill the coaster all the way with epoxy is because you're going to displace a lot when you lay your caps in. And because of that, if it's filled up all the way, you're going to run into issues with it overflowing. It's also a lot harder to push the caps all the way in where they need to be so that the tops do not stick out over the lip, because we're going to let this sit. Hey! We're going to let this sit for a while to make sure that the epoxy is really good and tacky, so that when we push our caps in, they don't move. First few times I made these cap coasters, I just stuck them in right after I mixed it, heated, popped some bubbles, and put them in there, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. And I walked away and I came back and they were all a mess. They were all over the place. And we don't want that to happen. So we really just want to have a good enough layer over this middle section, and then allow us the opportunity to just fill in the back as we go. So after it's spread, I'm gonna hit it a little bit with a heat gun. I know some people say never ever use a heat gun or torch with molds. I use a heat gun with these and I've never had an issue. I just don't hold it too close. I know a lot of the most of the molds that crafters are making, because it's a different type of product. Hello. You never want to put a heat gun or a torch to that. So if you have a coaster mold that is handmade by somebody, probably do want to find something other than a torch to use. Use a straw, blow on it, let the carbon dioxide pop the bubbles, or something like that. But I know I've used these molds a lot, never had any issues just using a heat gun. These lips are really tricky though, with the bubbles. I just kind of stick my thing down there and pull the bubbles up to the top if they're larger. and then pop them. So that is all of phase one. I will let this sit and then come back about 30 minutes later just to catch any other bubbles that have come to the surface, to make sure those get popped before the epoxy is too thick where popping it is going to leave holes or anything like that. So for me, because I craft in my garage, as I've already expressed, there somehow are gnats everywhere, and the dog crates are also down here. Dog crates, washer and dryer, there's debris everywhere. So I always put my molds underneath a Tupperware container. So I've got some that I was doing earlier that I'm going to pull out. Like I said, I did this about an hour ago. And then here's one that I put some inks in. All right, see how that looks. So I have just a plain one and then ink. So you can see it's not really moving when I do this, but it is flexible. So it's nice and tacky. So that's what we want to put our caps in. So for this round one, I'm going to use these, and I always start in the middle and then just push down. Try to push flatly and evenly, not at an angle. And especially when you're laying these other ones around, you want to try not to move them side to side too much. So if that means you want to practice kind of putting them in before you put your resin in, it might be a good idea. If you move them too much side to side, then you're going to create air bubbles from the little ridge parts. So you just want to push it and make sure that when you're pushing it, they're not popping back up. And you can get your placemat, not really put them in yet, but just kind of place them on for your spacing. And then I can say, all right, well, I don't really want that one there. I can move it over without causing air bubbles. So of course, you can see I could have used a 7th one, but like I said, I want to show you, you can do this just with like a 6-pack that you buy. I mean, you can just put one in the middle. You can do whatever you want. You're a grown-up. You can make your own decisions. Yeah. And that's it. So once you're satisfied with the placement and they're not moving around, then we can actually go ahead and we can pour our second, and for this one, final layer of epoxy. Now, if you start putting these in and you see that they're kind of traveling, maybe the epoxy isn't quite thick enough, then I recommend just letting these sit, checking on it every so often until the epoxy has set before you pour in your other epoxy. Because once you pour in the final epoxy, you're really gonna have a hard time trying to move those around. You're gonna get lots of bubbles. So I have this mixed up. This is some UV pigment. Bought a pack off of Amazon to try. Hey Angela. So it's all mixed up, and this is what I'm going to pour. And again, you can do it however, but what I like to do is start by pouring into the beer caps first. just kind of scrape off into it. Make sure that your edges of the beer caps get coated in the epoxy. Voila. Then this goes back underneath. And it's really that simple. Then just let it sit overnight, and then I can pop it out of the mold tomorrow. Anyone have any questions? Concerns? Grievances? Well, if you're not a big drinker, you can also buy different sodas that still have bottle lids. You can also buy bags of miscellaneous or specific ones on eBay. I've done that. I normally advertise that I drink to order, but every once in a while I get a request for something I just personally cannot stomach. The last one was some Red's apple ale. I cannot drink that stuff. It makes my stomach hurt. And so I knew I couldn't drink 6 of them to make a coaster. So I spent like $4 on eBay. Mona also pointed out the other day when we were chatting that if you like the look, but you don't necessarily want beer or soda, apparently bottle cap necklaces are still a big crafting thing, and they have a whole section at like Hobby Lobby where you can buy just different colored ones, and then I think they have ones with like emojis and different stuff on it, so you could do a set that way as well. I don't have epoxy mixed for this one yet, so I'm just gonna let it sit. Martinellis. Yes, Shannon, you do start with epoxy. But you do have to space it out so you can catch the replay. But yes, you do have to do it over about, depending on your epoxy, you're looking at least 30-45 minutes as the earliest before you want to place your caps in. Ooh, sparkling apple cider. I love apple cider. Are the bottle caps pretty? I actually meant to go get apple cider the other day at the grocery store, but I forgot. I walked in and it smelled like apple cider, but then I didn't see it. And I was upset about life. You're welcome, Shannon. You can kind of see, I'll show you this one. You can kind of see the layers. So you can do it as a 3-step process too. So pour the epoxy, put the bottle caps in after it's set for a while, and then filled with epoxy up to here. Then I came back, glittered, and then epoxied that last little bit. So it has a smooth, sealed glitter back, but I did put cork on this one too. And this one that's super horrible and bubbly. See, this is one of the ones where some of my caps moved. It moved too badly. But see, that side lifted up some. These were experiments. What is Martinelli's? I'm curious. There's so many things that I just don't pay attention to or don't see. Or we don't have in North Carolina, apparently. Oh, you're very welcome. These bottle cap coasters was what got me into resin and epoxy. It was before I ever started doing cups. All right, well, if no one else has any questions, this is just a shorty one, doesn't take very long. But wanted to share, me and the other admins, we've been going through it and making to-do lists on all the different lives that we're going to be scheduling and showing you. I don't know what time yet, but I'm gonna do a quickie glitter mail live tomorrow. I've got to drive to my parents' house. My dad had knee replacement surgery. They live about an hour away. And he can't move or anything by himself. He just had the surgery on Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. And he's not the best patient in the world. So I'm gonna go and see him and hang out with my folks some while the kids are at school. Before I come back, I've got some dinner plans with some folks too. So I'm gonna do probably mid-morning. I'm thinking somewhere around between 10 and 11 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow, with some glitter mail that I will be using sometime next week. I'm only going to show you from back here so that you'll come and see me tomorrow. I have 4 amazing colors from Blue Spring Designs. They're so pretty. So thank you to them for amazing fall colors. So I'm going to be showcasing these with my glitter mail tomorrow quickly, and then I've got to look at my schedule and check with the other admins to see what they have going on. But sometime probably next week I'm going to be going live and showing y'all how to do the plaid tumblers, because it's almost fall, y'all. Although we got a taste of fall here in North Carolina, but summer is trying very, very, very hard to hang on to us here. If the humidity would just go away, I'd be happy though. So let's keep a lookout for that. And if you have not already, please go and enter in for our 2,000 member giveaway. We've got some amazing prizes. I'm sure y'all have seen, because I have been posting things like crazy, and things I posted, that's not even all of it. You can see more about some of the awesome glitters and things like that that we have to give away as well. Meg's made several posts But there are some things that we are kind of keeping sneaky. But lots of awesome things to give away. Also, please, please, please take the time and fill out our form, our Airtable that Mona has created to nominate one of your fellow crafters. We're going to start doing this every month, and it is a way for you to help recognize somebody that you have learned a lot from, or someone that inspires you, or someone that you just think is, super funny, or, beaming ray of sunshine. For whatever reason, there's so many reasons that you can nominate somebody. But we want to be able to recognize those folks that are amazing contributors. We have so many of them. Oh, no problem, Angela. But we've got so many of them, and we're always looking for ways to recognize y'all. So please take some time and go and fill that out. Do also keep in mind that per most things, admins are not eligible for that, so please don't try to nominate one of us. It won't work. But yes, this is something else for y'all that we're wanting to do. Check out the events. We've got several things posted. We're going to try to do better about posting stuff in advance. So y'all know what we're doing and when, and then we're gonna have everything logged and moved into the units. I've got to figure out some technical stuff on my end, but I'm also am going to be going live to go over the new units section for those of you that have not already seen it and figured out how it works. I'm going to do a live so that y'all can ask questions and things like that. And like I said, if any of y'all want to go live, please just let us know. We just ask if you can kind of reach out, and even if it's a 5-minute, hey, I'm getting ready to do this, is it alright if I go live? The only reason for that being just to make sure that one of the admins doesn't have something planned already. Like I said, we've been trying to do better about getting things on the events, but sometimes we do have things that pop up. And when sometimes when we have time to do things, we have time, and we just go, hey, I should go live and put that in the group. We've got lots of fun stuff, and I'm going to leave you with one more thing because I think it's super pretty, and it's my first one that I've done. It's Saran wrap. I did this last night at about 9 o'clock, I'd say, and I pulled off the Saran wrap right before I went live. I can't wait to get epoxy on it. I think I'm going to add glitter, because why not? It's so pretty as is. I may leave it. I don't know. I'm going to say I'm going to leave it, and then I'm going to end up putting glitter in it anyway. So super easy to do. I can see why I've been seeing them all over Facebook. So I cannot wait to get epoxy on it. So if you've done any of these, show us how you do it. Your favorite color combos, or if you found like something that makes it look even cooler, the way you mess with the Saran wrap or something. Share your tips and tricks. You don't even have to go live if you don't want to. Just post something. But remember, if you go live, you get entered into our giveaway. Another giveaway every month. Anytime you go live or do a pre-recorded. Okay, all right. I'm gonna stop staring at it now and let y'all go and feed my children. So hope everything. Gosh, I'm losing my words. Hope everyone has a fantastic evening. If you've got any questions, just post them in the comments, and I'll be going back and adding links for the molds that I used as well, just in case you don't have any. All right, thanks everyone. Bye.